Okay, this is one of my old ones that hasn't sold, so I brought it in. Another Strat. I think the reason it hasn't sold is relatively expensive. I did drop the price like $200 just because I got to move these things. And this is got Joe Barden pickups on it, which Joe Barden is famous for working with Danny Gatton, one of the best telly players on earth ever was. And they worked together to develop a telly pickup. It's called the Danny Gatton model that Joe Barden put together. Now he expanded out, he does a Strat setup, and this is his fat Strat setup. And they're the most expensive pickups on earth, and that's why this guitar is expensive. But they sound almost more like a Strat than a Strat. You know, I mean, they really have captured the sound, but it isn't quite Strat, but it's so close you hardly can notice. And they're totally noiseless. You can just play in a room full of neon lights and you're not going to get any noise out of it at all. So that's what Joe Barden's done, and that's why they're so expensive. The wiring and the engineering on them is really a lot higher than most pickups. There's a lot put into these. So I've got these on here. I just wanted to try them out, and they are great. I've actually played this guitar and gigged with it a few times because it's just incredible, and you can take it into any bar, you know, it ain't going to make any noise. And again, this guy now is a little different. When I first started putting the blenders in, they were so exciting that I put them in the place of the volume. So it's got the blender here, so you can blend these two guys in. Your volume's here. On the volume, you have a coil split for your humbucker. So with the push of your finger, it pops right up. So it's a push-push, not a push-pull. Because to me, a push-pull, you're playing along, okay, you want to split your coil. Okay, I've got to reach down, grab that thing, and pull up. That's a lot of thoughts, gets in the way of your playing. With my guitars, it's a push-push. You're playing, boom, you're in single coil mode just like that. You don't even have to hardly think about it. So, push it down, you're in humbucker mode, and man, it's a great sounding humbucker. And of course, now your master. And this is a no-load tone control. One of the older ones where it kind of clicks in. And that, I pretty much use those on just about all my guitars. The no-load tone is really great because it's, you know, on the wiper, on the potentiometer, at the end of it, it's scratched off, just like the end. So it basically just bypasses the whole tone circuit, and you don't have the resistance and capacitance that you get just in that little circuit, which kind of goes with my philosophy of the least wire, the least amount of places the electrons have to travel, the easier it is, the more they feel like they did when they left the pickup. And so that's a really cool thing. So I do that on all my tone controls. It's no load. I've got an Emerson Pro no load tone controls that I've got on my newer models that you don't have that little click at the end. And you know, if you want me to switch it, I could do that. Another thing too in my electronics, I don't know, this is kind of one of my secrets, but maybe I'll let it out, you know, and I'm not like really schooled in electronics. I've just kind of got stuff from experience. But I know a few things about it, and one thing I know is the electrons come from the ground. So as I'm putting together the electronics, I think of that, and I think you want a good supply of electrons. So I kind of concentrate on the grounding of the bridge and the control cavity to cover it with this copper foil, which just contains lots of electrons, you know, and bring that all into my ground. So I've got, you know, there's plenty behind the electronics to feed into the circuit, you know, and to keep it nourished, you know, in my really sort of naive ideas of electronics. But it seems to work for me. Anyway, this has got not a Jose Rivera neck. This is a Fender production neck out of Ensenada. It's the 60th anniversary one, boy oh boy. And it's there's two series of necks, both of them made in Mexico, that were designed in the Fender custom shop. in Corona. And by the way, all this prejudice against Mexican Strats, now hey, you know, we're thinking about racism in this country, you know. I mean, I went to the Corona factory and it's nothing but Mexican people working in there anyway, so, you know, what the heck, what's the deal on that? And sure, like they're less expensive, a lot because of the labor, a lot because of the components, but I'm telling you, the wood and and the cut and the just the overall feel and integrity of the guitar made in Mexico is just as good as in America. And so these necks are top quality. And there's two series I really like. One's a deluxe series, deluxe players series. The whole guitar I don't care for, but boy, their necks are nice, and you can find them on eBay. People take the guitars, tear them apart, and sell them for parts. These necks go for around 300 plus. The reason they're so desirable is they're just top quality, but they've got a 12-inch radius, which is a Gibson radius. So you're a Gibson player, you want a Strat, you can't get used to the neck, come down and try butter out here. That's the name of it because it plays like freaking butter, and it kind of looks like butter here. It's lightly, very lightly relic. I gotta admit, I put that buckle rash on there, so it's got real Mongrel buckle rash, but it's a very lightly relic guitar. As a person owns it, it'll chip and it'll crack up even more than it is. You notice it's got the yellowing. This guitar was aged from the point of view that it was a white guitar back in the day, and this is an aging process here. You can see it's darker aged in certain places. Mark Jenny does just a fabulous job of relicing. He's the best in the world. So it's butter. It plays like butter. It's got a 12-inch radius neck. Oh, the other one is, and I've got that on, I think, that guitar. Yeah, the sleeper here, and this isn't the deluxe series, but it's, again, an Ensenada 12-inch radius neck made in Mexico, but, you know, every bit as good as any Fender neck you're going to get, or any neck for that matter. And this is the Deluxe Players Series. I think it was the Players 60 Strat. But it's got a 12-inch radius, unlike a 60 Strat. But it's got, again, this one, the 60 Strat does not have the truss rod adjustment at the headstock like the Deluxe Series does, which is a little easier to adjust your neck. You don't have, with this one you have to, like, and old Fenders too, you have to take the neck off to adjust it, but it's really not that difficult. And it gives it that, you know, vintage feel. These as well, you might see this little guy here, it's a plug. These are old 50s style necks with the truss rod adjustment at the heel, which I usually put on my kind of relic guitars because it makes them more authentic. Anyway, this is butter. It's a real sweetheart. If you know Jason Gossel, he's one of the greatest guitar players in the world and local guy. He's got like 5 or 6 bands that play around the Seattle area here. Jason said this was his favorite guitar. If he had the money, he'd buy it. So that's an endorsement for it. And you might notice my little piece of blue tape here. A lot of people don't know it, but Fender tremolos, actually they're a vibrato, but they call them tremolos, have a little spring in here that keeps your whammy bar tight, you know. And if you take the whammy bar off, they'll fall out. So most of them don't have it because people don't know that that happens. I always put a little piece of blue tape on it to keep the spring in there when the whammy bar isn't in.